Students of class 8A and 8B, today's points: Sipais aggression, Delhi, Lucknow, Kanpur, role of Nana Sahib. Sipais aggression. What was the reason the Sipais became very much aggressive and also resulted in the revolt of 1857? In a very detailed form, I discuss these points. Once again, I am repeating some points. The reason behind the revolt of 1857 was discontentment among the Sipais of India. The Sipais initially decided to organize a revolt, but they required one leader. That's why they choose Bahadur Shah Zafar to be their leader, who that very respected. Bahadur Shah Zafar too was a very respected person. He was the last Mughal emperor, but was leading a very ordinary life in spite of being the last Mughal emperor. What life he was leading was very ordinary. He was not leading. He was not enjoying a life like an emperor, but an ordinary person, only because of British humiliation. That's why they decided to make him their leader. Initially, Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar II he did not consent, but later on he changed his decision and decided to lead their revolt. But when the Sipais entered Meerut, Ayodhya, in order to take revenge of the Nawab of Ayodhya, Wajid Ali Shah, because Ayodhya was annexed without any proper reason. False allegations was brought against the name of Wajid Ali Shah. So Ayodhya was annexed. That's why many people who belonged to Ayodhya, they were working in the British army. So they all organized revolt from there. Then 2 days later, the soldiers marched towards Delhi, taking along with the local soldiers. On 11th May 1857, they persuaded Bahadur Shah Zafar to assume the leadership. Bahadur Shah Zafar finally gave his consent. So they proclaimed him the Emperor of Hindustan. The capture of Delhi became a rallying point and a source of inspiration for all those who were ready to end British rule in India. Rebellions began to break out in the northwestern frontier, central India, and western Bihar. However, British reinforcement from Punjab regained Delhi in September 1857, and many innocent people were massacred and hung without a trial. Those who were not involved in the revolt, those who did not have any connection with the revolt, this group of people, many in numbers, were hanged by the British as soon as Delhi was regained by the British. The Sipais, captured Delhi, but later on, reinforcement reached from Punjab, and by the month of September in 1857, the British recaptured Delhi and punished so many innocent people without a trial. And next, Lucknow. What happened to Lucknow? The Sipais in Lucknow, during that period, Lucknow was the capital of Ayodhya. So the Sipais in Lucknow or Ayodhya were supported by the disbanded soldiers of old army of Ayodhya. Even the Talukdars and the peasants joined them in the revolt. Begum Hazrat Mahal, wife of the deposed Nawab Wajid Ali Shah of Ayodhya, led the uprising. Nawab Wajid Ali Shah felt insulted. Why? Because by bringing false allegations against him, What type of allegations? Maladministration and mismanagement. That Wajid Ali Shah was unable to rule his state properly. That's why Ayodhya was annexed. These false allegations brought against the name of Wajid Ali Shah. So it was a great insult for Wajid Ali Shah, the Nawab of Ayodhya. But he was a very peaceful man. He remained silent. But his wife, Begum Hazrat Mahal, decided to teach the British a good lesson. That's why he led the uprising. And next one, the British forces were defeated and surrounded in their Lucknow residency for several months because a great fight occurred between the British and the soldiers of Ayodhya. And then the British forces considered defeat against them, and they surrounded within the circle of Lucknow residency for several months. But the British had a tough fight with the rebels of Ayodhya. But when reinforcements arrived from Britain, they were finally able to defeat the rebels and recaptured once again Lucknow like Delhi. So the Lucknow, which went under the hands of the rebels temporarily until their reinforcements were sent to Ayodhya from England. Some British soldiers surrounded within the circle of the Lucknow residency temporarily. And as soon as reinforcements reached Lucknow or reached Ayodhya, they were able to defeat the rebels, and once again they recaptured Lucknow. The Begum fled to Nepal because the British openly declared the Begum to be arrested. But Begum, in order to save him, he somehow managed to escape from there and fled to Nepal. And next one, Kanpur. What happened to Kanpur? Kanpur was the garrison city, and all the stored arms and ammunition were looted by the soldiers at Kanpur. Nana Sahib, who was denied his father's pension, declared himself Peshwa and led the uprising in mid-July. Nana Sahib, was the adopted son of Peshwa Bajirao II. Peshwa Bajirao II had no legal heir. That's why he had to adopt one son. The name of the son was Nana Sahib. But after the death of Peshwa Bajirao II, his adopted son Nana Sahib's demand or right to the throne was ignored by the British, and British openly declared him to be illegal heir to the throne of Kanpur. That's why they stopped paying pension for Nana Sahib. What pension they paid to Peshwa Bajirao II, they stopped paying it to his adopted son Nana Sahib. That's why Nana Sahib organized a revolt from Kanpur against the British, and Tatia Tope, his commander, helped him, and they succeeded in defeating the British and eventually ousted the British troops. But it was also a temporary incident. During the first war, the Britishers were defeated by the local rulers, but however they managed it. The British recaptured Kanpur in December 1857. Reinforcement came, and then the British, with full confidence, they fought against them and they defeated them and recaptured Kanpur in December 1857. So the revolt claimed the lives of many Indian and English soldiers. And finally, the British captured so many important places, the places which came under the control of the local rulers. In course of time, the British one by one recaptured the places like Delhi, like Meerut, like Ayodhya means Lucknow, capital of Ayodhya, like Kanpur. These all were once went in the hands of the local rulers, but the Britishers once again proved their political supremacy, and with full confidence they fought against them and were able to defeat them. So all the places came under the British control. Now this is the question: what was the reason the local soldiers or local sipais failed to achieve success against the British? The main reason was the British utilized modern weapons. The weapons which were very much up to date. The modern weapons which were well equipped with them. They were well equipped with the system of the modern weapons. They knew how to use it. But Indian soldiers, Indian sepoys were unacquainted with the system of new and modern weapons. They did not have any knowledge of the newly introduced modern weapons. But the British soldiers, as a result, they considered defeat in many places of India at the hands of the British soldiers. So in course of time, the British occupied a number of Indian cities. So once again these cities came under their control, and the soldiers, but still the soldiers kept on fighting against them. They did not lose their confidence, and they kept on fighting against them. And later on, one ruler of Jhansi also raised her sword against the British. The British also declared war against that very place, Jhansi. And how was Jhansi captured? And what happened to the Queen of Jhansi, Rani Lakshmibai? What happened to her? What did she do? What was the reason the Britishers decided to annex Jhansi? Next day I shall discuss, my dear students. Up to this, thank you.